got a guy
What a
like that that's built
shot.
like that, the 6'4", that we got to transcend a guy like
They got Jordan Davis last season. They bring Fletcher Cox back in Philly. So I'm sitting there like, we need to put something in this offensive line to combat that. We got a new thing coming out in minicamp. We all are very aware of the West Coast offense. It turns out we're running the Texas Coast offense.
that.
Let's go, baby. First year, McCarthy said this is the first year that they're finally playing how they want to play. And I do find that to be another shot at Kellen Moore. Not quite sure what the full details are behind that statement, but I also feel like maybe that could be a shot at Jerry as well.
Oh no, I think he been taking shots at Kellen Moore all off season. But I get what you're saying though. I mean that is Jerry guy. It's been a guy he was trying to mold. But if you
Right.
think about it, if he finally coming out to say I'm finally being able to start my way, then yeah, it is a direct shot at Jerry. I mean, you bring a head coach in, and then year three he finally gets to do the things that he want to do. Like if you listen to some of the quotes coming out, the defense coordinators, even Schottenheimer, they say, man, I look at Mike, man, it's the happiest I've seen him since he's been here. He seemed like he at home. The guys are
Hmm.
gravitating to him. You know what I mean? He's actually enjoying being in Dallas now. He got the guys playing fast. Like from all I can hear, it looks good. I mean, it looks clean. Dak out there slinging it, but a couple of things I could take away from it is the first thing is, he says I'm not scrapping the whole playbook, right? Which is why we still got the Texas coast. It ain't the full thing. We still got Dak. We're keeping everything that Dak love. You know what I mean? Everything that we're
Hmm.
comfortable with, everything that we bought out, our best plays, we're keeping them. And then everything else is to clean up the other side of that and make everybody play fast. And I kind of like that. And I think Dak, I mean, look like he's out there in full control. He's loving it, man. So I'm just excited to see what it looks like week one. We can kind of sit here and just think like, is it gonna be this? Is it gonna be that? But I think Mike got some tricks up in his bag, man. He did some nice things over there in Green Bay.
No, I think, building strength on strength. So there's like an old saying, don't fear the man that's thrown 10,000 kicks, but fear the man that's thrown the same kick 10,000 times. And basically, like, just repetition, repetition. So if you can get Dak comfortable, more comfortable with what he's already comfortable with, I see really bright things coming for this Cowboys offense.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like pretty much like if you don't perfect it, we don't want it. You
Exactly.
know what I mean? Dak, if you don't like it, toss it out. Or you love it, we keeping it. And from there they built a nice foundation over there. And just to dive a little bit deeper into the minicamp side of things, just some of the news we hearing. Obviously, we all heard about Tober. That was all the way since OTAs. He's kind of continuing to ball out. But we got Schoonmaker out right now. I think it's
Hmm.
interesting to see some of the clips coming out. Looks like we're gonna be running some 4 wide receiver sets still. And Tobit is one of the guys that's in there, man. So maybe it is
Nice.
not just what I mean, can he get the playing time? I think they'll find him the playing time if he actually puts in the work and show he belongs out there. So that's dope to see.
I would like to see Tolbert make a big enough step to where he can work his way in there and work Gatlip off the field. Like, let me see Tolbert in 3 wide receiver sets. You know what I mean? I do like the idea more of 12 personnel if we're going to run the ball like McCarthy seems to believe, and like he did really in Green Bay. But that also leads me to wonder, like, what about Simi Fehoku? Will he even be able to see snaps? Cavante Turpin, is he going to work his way on the field as well, find touches? But the another question, they talked about Tony playing in the slot last year. Is that's just gone? We're not doing that.
Now I think we seen from Tony, man. I think last year, we all asked from Tony, like, would you ever use him like this? Would you utilize him? I think they actually went out there and did that, and we seen the proof was in the pudding. He balled out. We seen him on some real routes. We seen him get some touchdown passes. They utilized him out of the backfield, and it seemed like every time they did so, it was always positive yardage. But it seemed like when Zeke did it, it was like, why the hell you throwing it to Zeke, man? just
Right.
stop, man. But so yeah, Tony. Hey, look, he said he's back. He said he's feeling fast. That he's feeling fresh. They just playing it smart right now. I haven't heard much out of Deuce Vaughn right now, but I'm sure all I'm getting a taste over there as well. Just some other things. We was wondering how that offensive line was going to play out. All through OTAs, we were saying, Tyron Smith on the outside, on the right side, Tyler Smith at left tackle, and they was doing some type of rotation at left guard. But then, as soon as minicamp starts, you got your Tyron Smith at left tackle. Tyler Smith moves back inside and say he looks at home, look like he been playing that all season. You know what I mean? And to my surprise, they said Walesko is just having a hell of an offseason right now. So just coming out, a guy like Walesko, I know he was actually, highly regarded. He was a little bit of a project, but it was somebody that could develop, and it looks like the Cowboys, have done some good things over there with him. And I think they ready for him to take a step. So this offensive line is kind of taking shape, but I don't think Terrence Steele will be ready for the training camp though. So it's kind of tough, but just give him some time though. Ain't no rush on it.
A big boy like Terrence, it was an ACL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that it takes a lot, and that's a big injury for a big dude. But if Walesko can improve to being a starter or a borderline starter, or even Asim Richards, if we can get him up and rolling, like and actually have, because right now it just feels like there's no depth on the offensive line. We hear the Walesko news, but is that all smoke or not? Like we'll find out. I hope not. Like I hope that the new coaching staff in place has helped to improve him. I know another news that broke, I guess, the other day was not really news, but Jake Ferguson attending Tight End University with Kelsey and Kittleman, and that
Yeah, do that.
excites me a lot because which one was it that pretty much said like Jake's that dude?
That was
Was
Travis
it?
Kelce.
It
Yeah.
was, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, no, that's exciting. Get him in there working with the other veterans and see what improvement he can bring from that.
So he need to bring Luke with him. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Whatever he got to do, he got to get out that walking boot, man. I know we're not trying to make it a big deal right now, but you know how it is. Like the same thing happened with Tober. Like it's one thing to be getting the mental reps, but the more you're not out there, the more you're falling behind.
right.
And for a guy like that we wanted to be a day one player, the closer he gets to training camp, the more word I get. So hopefully he can get that straight, man.
And with the plantar fasciitis, like the only way to heal that is surgery or complete bed rest. So him being around in a walking boot, like that's not really solving the problem there. So
Yeah, fair.
either and the surgery's not always successful, but then I gotta wonder, like, was Dallas aware of this? Are they already in control of the situation? Because, like you're saying, he's missing out on a lot of important reps.
Yeah, it sucks, man. But I mean, at the end of the day, I do think we're a deep team. We're a deep team, man. If you look at it, we'll see how the schedule breaks out. But not even to go back to that, but I will say this is I think it's a two-sided thing that the Cowboys are doing with the Terrence Steele situation. I think they will let Terrence Steele take his time, and if Walesko shows any promise there, I think you can kind of bet on the Cowboys being cheap and Terrence Steele might not be in here next time this season.
Oh, that would be ideal, man. If Walesko can ball out, excuse me, and show the room for improvement, and we can just move off of Terrence, like that's the move. You know?
Yeah, I think that's the plan for sure. Anything on the defense side popping out to you this offseason?
Uh we lost what was it, Takk McKinley. And I don't even think he even played a snap for us, if I'm not
Nah.
mistaken. But that's a piece that we were excited about, previously because he had been with DQ in Atlanta. He was with the Rams, I think their Super Bowl year, and in Cleveland as well. Like he's been a solid player. But what that tells me is Dan Quinn and this coaching staff love their depth in the trenches and couldn't even envision him getting on the field. So that's a good sign because I thought Tack was a solid player, unless he's that far past his prime. But that really pumps me up because I know you mentioned Buddy that switched from the O line to the D line is
Well,
showing
Isaac
improvement.
Larkin.
Yeah, and hey, if he can sneak in there, that's a raw product right there. Um, Cornerback 3, I think that's Bland's job, but we've got a little rotation going there. And everybody kind of has some positive news coming out at that position. What do you think about that nickel spot?
Nah, I mean, I love it. I love it, right? Because I look at it like this. You just talked previously about Isaac Larkin, guy who was on the offensive side, switched over to defense. Now he's showing improvement. They see like, okay, yeah, he's a more natural for this spot right here on this
Hmm.
side of the ball. And then you think about what they're doing to Kelvin Joseph. You know what I mean? They switch him inside and they say, look, man, he's had his best offseason since he's been here. It looks like the instincts is taking over. He's a natural. And not only that, the inside is helping him play on the outside. You know what I mean? Switching these guys up. Even when you think down to a McQuamu, man, being able to switch him around from safety, We seen him on the outside last year. We seen him inside. When you moving these guys around like that, and let's say somebody does drop, then you have guys that can fill in their multiple spots, man. I think it's something to be said for the Cowboys being able to do that. You know what I mean? Even on the offensive, not to switch back and forth, but even on the offensive side of the ball, when you move with let's go from left guard to right tackle, and Tyler from left to right. And so I'm excited for Kelvin Joseph. I hope he keeps it up. He's a guy I want to see do well, man. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people are down on him, but don't forget, man, when he came out, he had all the traits in the world,
Hmm.
man. I think it was more upstairs, but maybe, just maybe, you know what I mean, with the offseason, not like last year, just moving everything past that. I think this year, I think he'd be up for a nice year. We still got time
No,
though.
and the thing with Kelvin too is like he's going into year 3. Like you said, we know he has those traits. He's a former second round pick, but it is a coach's job to develop that person into a talent, like to showcase their talent and find where they excel. So if moving him inside is the move, then I'm glad because now we have our second round pick up and rolling, and the coaches have done their job there. And if he can get some playing time in the nickel, even in dime packages, and play well this coming season, then that shows me as well that he didn't let all the stuff that happened last season, all the bad talk, back talking about Kelvin sucks, Kelvin gets burned, like he didn't let that get to him,
Right.
So that shows his competitive edge as well.
Yeah, and then like another thing that might be overlooked is maybe is getting these veterans in the room, man. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Getting a Stephon Gilmore beside them and seeing how these pros work, how they come at work every day, like the little details in and out. I think it rubs off on the guys. And you listen to Jalen Tober, he says, man, look, I've been right in Brandon Cook's hip pocket. You know what I mean? I've been watching them day in and day
Yeah.
out. And we always talked about getting a veteran guy now. We always had young guys that had the talent, but I think it matters to get some type of guys in there like that, man. And I got another guy. I know you're gonna love this news. Jabril Cox is finally returning to form. You know what I mean?
Talk
I've been
to
hearing his
me.
name more and more often. You know what I mean? He out there making plays, he's flying around. And you know, reporters they asked Mike, hey, look, what's going on with Jabril Cox, man? He said, look, man, I think, you know what I mean, with a guys when they tear the ACL, you know what I mean, usually takes them a while. Some guys never recover, but it's usually that second year, you know what I mean? They gotta pass these thresholds, and he said Jabril Cox is here, man. He's back. He's looking more like himself, and he's back to balling out, man. So imagine getting a Jabril Cox, the player we once thought he was, because you know he was always promising us, getting him back in this linebacker room, putting him beside his old fellow mate, you know what I mean, DeMar Clark, and you know what I mean, LVE still looking like LVE, man. I think the linebacker room can go to something that was like a question mark when the season ended to maybe even the strength, man. And if that happens, then you know, on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, we may be looking at that number one type, you know, I mean, trajectory though.
No, that's very exciting news. Jabril's a fucking sniper, dude. And I'll never forget when Danny Dimes was trying to roll out left and Jabril just doof, a dart
Hmm.
took Danny out the game. And that's really the only big highlight I have of Jabril in my mind because we haven't seen much of him. But that's terrific because we got to keep Leighton Vander Esch, who is the pretty much quarterback of our defense, making sure everybody's where they belong. And then you have these young boys that can fly around. If we can get a rotation, maybe even run like some 3-3, three three
It's gonna be
five,
crazy, man.
4-3-3-4, like you name it, we got it. Dan Quinn is going to get the most out of a guy like Jabril Cox as
Oh,
well as Damone Clark.
which is our best coverage linebacker, if we
Exactly.
must say. And another guy that would you say runs like what, sub 4.5? I mean, how many of these
Yeah.
guys can Dan Quinn get, man? So, man, we getting faster and faster. You hearing it all, the young guys stepping up. The safety room is just a safety room. It's a short thing. The only thing about minicamp is, you know what I mean, you get your off-season highlights or whatever. But on the defense side of the ball, they're not really out there challenging passes and things of
Right.
that nature right now. So as we move into this next phase, I think it'll get a little bit more competitive. But it's good to hear about certain guys, you know what I mean, taking that leap. It's good to hear about Tober. It's good to hear about Kelvin Joseph, or even like Walesko and some of these young guys is actually progressing. And you know, if you had any position battles that you was excited to see as we inch closer and closer to training camp, what you want to see? Like not position battles, but I mean like defensive side of the ball line up against the defense line against the offense. Who do you want
No,
to
I
see
got
go
you.
at it and out there? You know what I mean? Kind of razor sharp and razors out there. What you want
I
to see?
want to know which one of our safeties slash corners can hold down Jake Ferguson. I want to know which one
Okay.
who's winning those battles at tight end and who's covering the tight end in these practices because we know Curse can lock them boys down, but outside of him, who really can put the clamps on a tight end? But at the same time, like Curse is like elite guarding tight ends, right? Like we know
Yeah.
this. It just kind of goes unnoticed. Can Jake eat up Curse? Because if so, we might be in business. You know what I
Hey,
mean?
that's interesting. You're right though. You're right. I like
And
to see
I,
that.
I like I like that I match up there, and then in the slot corner, man, I just want to see who is it like pressure coverage? Are they is it zone coverage? You know what I mean? Like and who's doing what? Because I think with Kelvin is he's a very pressed guy. At least he was in college. Whereas I'm not, I guess, as sure about Deron Bland. But what about you? What matchup are you most excited for?
And I like that. I think the first thing, man, I want to see Mozzie Smith against Tyler Smith, right? Just two strong guys, you know what I mean? Like big ass force. Two like would you say a movable force is just going at it, man. So I want to see who like when they lock in the trenches, who winning those battles. Like is Tyler Smith,
Damn.
like can he go anywhere? And if we can get any traction, any battle from that, I think we can get a lot from both guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would like that battle, and then just kind of seeing like this wide receiver room. Like I'm not too worried about what you know what I mean, CeeDee Lamb versus Gilmore and Trayvon Diggs, what that'll look like. I'm more interested in seeing Bland lining up against like Cooks when he's in the slot and Lamb and all of those guys switching out to see what type of, you know what I mean, progression he's had and see if he locking down on the outside and inside.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that a lot. And then I guess another thing I have too with CeeDee Lamb is Brandon Cooks comes in, which probably takes away some of those touches because you're gonna have to manufacture some to Brandon Cooks. But Dalton Schultz had a lot of manufactured touches.
For sure.
And not even manufactured. He was a dump down guy as well. So where are those Dalton Schultz touches gonna head? You know what I mean? Like who is that new safety blanket? Can it be a Jake Ferguson? Is it a Schoonmaker? Is it TP? Could it be CD Lamb? You know, and I'm really curious who that check down guy becomes in this situation.
Hopefully TP. Like that's the guy. Listen, if nothing if nothing is there, like give it to him 3 yards, cloud of dust, let him make a play.
Mm-hmm.
I love to see that. But if you think about it, you hear Dak talk about Lamb. He said, "Listen, I think he could be the best receiver in the league. He's just scratching the surface. We got a lot of young guys, and you know, what I mean, I want to see what Mike does with Deuce Vaughn, man. I just feel like he's kind of keeping things under wraps. We don't know, but as we inch a little closer, we'll see. You hear the Dalvin and Cook news popping up, and
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. Like, would they like to bring back a Zeke? But I don't. I think if they don't attack the running back position, I think that'll tell you a lot about what they feel about this room, and especially about Deuce. You know what I mean in general.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I don't think I have much of an interest for Dalvin Cook. I don't think it makes sense. And I also don't see Ronald Jones making the roster as well. Like I could see him ending up on our practice squad. He just is one of those backs I think that kind of has floated around. And I think there's better backs available on your starting roster than a Ronald Jones at this moment. So,
I wouldn't be surprised if Hunter Lupic, like if he, I'm assuming I'm announcing that correctly, but if he was to beat him out, bigger guy, could do it all. Kind of remind you of the boy Usyk over there in San Fran, the way they could use him, catch the
mhm,
ball, run the ball, be a bigger back. And as long as he can come in and fill that role and be a bigger back, then I think that kind of singles out Ronald Jones this year, man. But that's the thing, man. We don't get to see these guys compete at a high level right now, but it's definitely a lot to look out for, man. It's gonna be a good offseason.